appreciated. So before we move on, someone said to me once, because they knew I was active around prison work and working with prisoners and support, and someone said to me, aren't you afraid to have your daughter around those people? Because I used to always bring my daughter down to these vigils. I just didn't bring her tonight because I was hosting. And so when I hear those kind of comments, I wanted to take a look at something like this, which is what the kids here created tonight. And so I just want to give a big shout out to all the kids, all the mothers inside who are separated from their children and who are agonizing because walls separate them, and state laws say that if you're a mom inside, you're not a quote-unquote good mom and you're undeserving of being a mother. So this is what the kids made tonight, and I just want to big up the kids. All right. And next we have Phoenix.
So hi everyone, my name's Phoenix. I work at Maggie's, the Toronto Sex Worker Action Project, and I'm also an active sex worker. I read this speech earlier at the South Riverdale event, and I just thought I would read it again and share it with everyone. So here it goes. Prisoners' Justice Day began several decades ago to remember those who have lost their lives to unjust treatment and lack of care within the prison system. Today it has become much more. It is a day to speak out against the building of new prisons, the overrepresentation of Indigenous and racialized people within it, the detainment of new immigrants and refugees, and the creation of new law and order legislation that will only increase the rates in which our family members, friends, community members, sons and daughters are locked away. It is a day to call out the blatant racism, ableism, sexism, transphobia, and hate that our criminal and justice system spews from every angle. And it is a day to raise awareness about overcrowded cells, human rights violations, and the barriers that those once released from prison face in society. There are so many things that I can say about the prison system, but today I'm here to speak on behalf of Maggie's, the Toronto Sex Workers Action Project. At Maggie's, we believe that no one should face violence or repression from the state, the police, or the prison system. For 25 years, Maggie's have been actively involved with anti-legislation efforts, speaking out against prisons, police, and supporting workers in Toronto. And although I can speak to my own experiences of incarceration, I cannot speak for the thousands of trans, street-based, migrant, and workers of color who on a weekly basis are funneled through the prison system like a revolving door. For many workers, having their occupation criminalized means being picked up and rearrested days after their release for trying to reestablish themselves in order to pay rent, get a new place, or feed their families. At the same time, being in constant fear of police incarceration, of police harassment and violence from the public. In addition, being incarcerated removes workers from their families, communities, and takes them away from any programs or treatment they may currently be engaged in. And as many of you know, this is not just the reality for sex workers, but for drug users, those living in poverty, youth, and those without status. As we stand here today, it is clear that the Harper government will continue to manipulate the public's views on crime and violence against women in order to further monopolize on the prison industry. Not only by pushing through bullshit law and order legislation based on imaginary crime rates, such as Bill C-10, but also conflating the idea of trafficking with all sex work. Over the past year, the use of the word trafficking to describe sex work has risen, and the media and our government have been using it to portray every instance where a worker is involved with a third-party manager, in every instance where a worker relocates, and in any instance where there is any element of control. This is being done to create a moral panic and use the public's views to stop the fight for sex workers' rights and limit the movement of women from the Global South. Are we saying that sexual exploitation does not happen? No. But when we speak about trafficking, we need to not only speak about the instances of sexual exploitation, but also the decades of exploitation and trafficking of persons into the hospitality, agriculture, garment, and domestic industries. Ask yourselves why it is that when sex, women, and money are involved, our government would like you to believe that all sex workers are victims in need of saving when they do nothing to help or support migrant workers from other industries, and in fact, allow and help to create the rife and unfair conditions that many find themselves in. The definition of trafficking is very skewed and does not apply to all sex workers and does not apply to all migrant workers. Many migrant workers travel here to work without coercion, and many do not work in exploitative environments. Criminalizing the very industry in which they work and rely on to support themselves only drives workers further underground and limits available options for making money. Sex workers from across the world are very vocal about what we need to live in safety, yet our voices are silenced while the government continues to conflate our work with trafficking to further their anti-sex work and anti-immigrant agenda. Protecting workers doesn't happen by continuing to criminalize the industry that we utilize in order to feed our families and pay our rent, but rather by giving us the power to define our working conditions, by providing better opportunities, and by granting worker status. So today, while we remember those who have fallen victim to the system, let us also remember how they got there. Resisting legislation is preventing and protecting our loved ones from being consumed by the prison machine, and by supporting the full decriminalization of sex work, we are saying no to the incarceration of workers, we are saying no to meaningless bullshit legislation, and we are saying no to the targeting of migrant workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoenix.